Before we move into this afternoon's proceedings, there are a few housekeeping matters I'd like to bring to members' attention. I'd like to remind members and officers to stand when they are speaking in the chamber. Can I also please remind members that any speeches must be limited to 6 minutes and directed to the item or question under discussion. Please may I remind members, officers, including the press and public that are in attendance today, that all mobile phones must be placed in silent mode and no calls should be made or received in the chamber during the meeting. Agenda item 1 is apologies for absence. I understand we've received apologies for absence from Councillors Anna Watson, Angie Scott, David Ferguson, Richard Dodd, Mary Murphy, Suzanne Fairless-Aitken and Scott Lee. Are there any others from the floor? Councillor Bridget is a further one. And Councillor David Towns as well.
Councillor Foster and Purvis.
Councillor Foster and Councillor Purvis. I think we're done now. Okay. Next item is the minutes of the meeting of the County Council held on Wednesday the 22nd of February 2023. Can we confirm these minutes as a true record? Can I have a proposer? Proposed by yourself, Councillor Sanderson? Yes. Seconded by Councillor Wearmouth. All agreed? Thank you. I'm just keeping right. 3. Disclosure of members' interest. Does any member have any interest to declare that have not already been declared to the monitoring officer before this meeting? Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Chair. It's probably an over-declaration, but just a personal and non-prejudicial interest in item number 9, because it's the LGA who I'm involved with who've done the report.
Okay, fine, thank you. Anyone else? No, thank you very much. Item 4, announcements by the business chair, leader or head of paid service. Leader, I understand you have some announcements to make.
Thank you very much. I would just like to update members on where we've got to with the devolution consultation. We have been uphill and down dale, and despite what you might read on some scurrilous Facebook pages, we have been across the county. We have been to Hexham. We have been to Seaton Delaval. We have been to Crumbs. We've been to Berwick, Morpeth, and Alnwick. We've also we've been
to Ashington.
And Ashington. And Newbiggin. That was the best. That was the best. We've also addressed a meeting of business leaders and also met up with Northumberland Association of Local Councils to get feedback from local councils on their on what they feel about the devolution proposals. So I would say that we have, and I must thank Sarah McMillan in particular, who has accompanied me on almost all of these, to say thank you very much to her, to all the staff and everybody else involved. And the feeling so far appears to be, by and large, supportive of what we're doing. And we will see what the final roundup is in terms of consultation responses, but it's expected that they will be all collated and then presented to the various councils in June.
Thank you. As chair, it's my sad duty to make mention of the untimely deaths of 2 of the county's young people. Members will be aware of a tragic accident in recent weeks in which Mikey Easton and Riley Headley sadly lost their lives. I understand the boys' parents worked for the County Council, and I'm sure all members will join me in sending our heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of Mikey and Riley. 5. Correspondence. I haven't received any correspondence. 6 is members' questions. We've got 5 submitted questions, although 1 has been withdrawn. I'd like to remind members we have 20 minutes allocated for this session, and I would like us to get through as many questions as possible within the allocated time. So please stick to asking the questions, including if you are going to ask a supplementary question. The first question is from Councillor Hill to the leader.
Thanks, Chair. Spittal Beach in my ward is one of 83 beaches in the country which has recently been deemed unsafe because of raw sewage being dumped into the sea, and this isn't the first time that this has happened. Does the council have any plans to take this up, the specific issue at Spittal and generally, with the local water company and or the government?
Thank you very much for that question. And I'm going to actually read this out because it's not specifically a council issue, although we are involved. Spittal Beach is a lovely beach. I was there just before the weekend, and it is one of the jewels in the crown of our coastline. So it's very important to make sure that people are able to enjoy that without fear of pollution of any kind. So we do work closely with both the Environment Agency and Northumbrian Water on flood risk and water quality issues as part of the North East Integrated Drainage Partnership, NIDP. The County Council is aware that in response to DEFRA's announcement in 2022 of the Storm Overflows Discharge Reduction Plan, which sets stringent targets to protect people and the environment from storm water overflows, which, as we all know, is what causes the issue when there's heavy rain. That's when they're allowed to kind of exclude sewage along with flash floodwaters. This plan is focused on the reduction of spills from storm overflows, and they've identified 19 high-priority storm overflows in Berwick, with a number of these being located in Spittal. These high-priority storm overflows have been targeted by Northwest NWL, Northumbrian Water, for work in 2025 to 2030, and we might see if we can get them to move a little bit quicker on that if we can. But it will happen, and the work will help to further improve the water quality in that lovely beach.
Supplementary, Councillor Hill. Okay, thank you. Question 2 is from Councillor Taylor to Councillor Riddle.
The riverside footpath between Atley Park and Plessy Woods is greatly used, and it's deteriorated further since we discussed it last year. I alerted you on Friday with sent some photographs that residents sent to me, which has showed all the deterioration further, which made it really dangerous for people to walk along. Thank you for your really quick response. It was really appreciated. I know the council has assigned funding to this via the LTP, so can you advise when works will commence on repairs and what area will be the priority? Thank you.
Councillor Riddle.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor, for that question. We do obviously take safety concerns very seriously, and it was very good for the staff to be out almost immediately to that. But a very straightforward question and a very straightforward answer. The council has allocated £15,000 in the 22-23 to repair and reconstruct the popular riverside footpath at Humford Mill on the banks of the Rivers Wansbeck. And a further £85,000 has now been allocated to implement the scheme to repair and reconstruct the riverside footpath. To undertake this work, which is necessary to secure a consent from the Environment Agency, and subject to us securing that necessary consent, I'm expecting that work to take place during this summer period. Supplementary?
Thank you very much. I don't have a supplementary for that one.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to the next question, which is again Councillor Taylor to Councillor Riddle.
Thank you, Chair. A terrible accident happened in the plantation area of Bedlington last week. One of our local residents, Mr. Gary Percy, contacted me about an accident which happened with his dog. There'd been some remedial work to take down some trees which had fallen because of Storm Arwen. And the freak accident happened when Mr. Percy was walking his dog through the woods, something which he's done for the last 20 years without any accidents or anything. There was bits of stick which was left sticking out of the ground, and unfortunately the dog ran and impaled itself on the stick, which caused the untimely and very painful death of the dog. When I alerted officers, they responded again really super fast, came out on Friday afternoon, spoke with Mr. Percy, took some photographs. But what is the council going to do to prevent an accident like that happening again. It was a dog this time, and that was bad enough. I'm a dog owner and a dog lover, as many of us are, but it could possibly have been a child, it could have been an elderly person, because that's quite widely used. Thank you.
Councillor Riddle.
Thank you again, Councillor Taylor. Well, as you said, I think I'll start by saying, I'm a dog lover myself, and I do know, how attached dogs and people are, and, they're second to your children, really, in your family. So, I do understand how upsetting it is, and, very sorry about that. And as you say, the council immediately got in contact with the owner of the dog to investigate this very upsetting accident that occurred in that area of woodland in the park, which has suffered from extensive damage, as you say, from Storm Arwen, which had been recently cleared by forestry contractors acting on behalf of this council. Having inspected the area where the incident took place, it was considered that the contractors had left the area in an acceptable condition. Our highest priority is to ensure public safety at the park, and that was to make sure that all dangerous damaged trees were removed following the Storm Arwen, and it is considered that the work undertaken had fulfilled that duty of care. Unfortunately, this was a freak accident, and it is not considered that any further actions would be proportionate to the risk posed at this and at other similar sites throughout Northumberland, our responsibility. So, I'm sorry that that's the reply, but that is, we can't envisage every possible accident and every possible hazard that's out there. We just have to do our best to make sure that we meet the standards that are expected, and my officers tell me that that is what we have done.
Supplementary, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Councillor Riddle. I appreciate that response. While it might seem acceptable for anybody to go out and have a look, I would invite you to come down and have a look with me, if you don't mind, because it is, well, I'm just a lay person, but it's quite dangerous. There are sticks coming out of the ground, and I don't accept that. That's an acceptable condition to leave it. So would you meet me and we'll go down and have a look?
Councillor Taylor, I certainly will meet you, but that's the advice I've had from my expert officers, and I take their word that that's true. Thank you.
I accept that.
Thank you for that. Question 4 has been withdrawn. Question 5 is from Councillor Dale to Councillor Wearmouth.
Thank you. As Councillor Wearmouth knows, I like to cross every T. So at the Council's Cabinet meeting held on Tuesday 14th of March, the Cabinet made a decision to agree that the original conditions relating to the call option on the land NEP 3 are amended to ensure that the project can proceed. This was further discussed under Part 2. Was a risk appraisal panel called to discuss this agenda item with group leaders prior to the Cabinet meeting held on the 14th of March? And can I just say, I do understand the confidentiality of this decision, but also taking into account the past history of the site as well.
Councillor Wearmouth.
Thank you, Councillor Dale, and we've had a little bit of correspondence on this. Thank you for understanding the question of confidentiality. I've got a bit that's prepared by officers, and then I have just a little bit of supplemental, which hopefully will assist you. First of all, risk appraisal panel, and a risk appraisal panel was not convened to discuss the proposed amendments to the buyback prior to the Cabinet decision on the 14th of March. That's partly to do with what the risk appraisal panels do and what is set out under our Constitution. And so primarily, for those who don't know or haven't read the Constitution and memorised it, as we all should do every night, effectively you've got Part 1, which is projects, and this is to look at where successful completion is a condition of any grant from the council, for example, or where the accounting body, presumably, or where there's a continuing obligation to a third party, or where you have proposals that require a strategic policy decision of the council and or entering into a partnership and or involving elements of a serious or very severe risk. And The variation to the buyback agreement was agreed by Cabinet, as you referenced, on the 14th of March, and that was required because there are new owners or owners that have come to buy British Volt out of administration, rather, so the company has effectively been resurrected in that sense. And in so doing, they were securing the site and funding for the development to proceed. It's not fundamentally a change in the protection of the council in terms of an interest of NEP3 and the site, and it didn't or involve a significant risk and or a basis of bringing a risk appraisal panel was therefore not considered to be necessary by the officers. The supplemental bit, which I'll just have to unlock my machine for, if you bear with me 1 second. So just to emphasise that point, that we weren't at any point selling anything to Recharge. They were buying the assets of British Volt out of administration, not out of liquidation or anything like that. And obviously, everybody here, I'm sure, wants that project to succeed, but succeed with the safeguards that we'd already put in terms of the site when we'd been working to bring that site forward with British Volt as the project sponsor. So throughout the sale process by the administrator, we had a continuous dialogue with our own lawyers who'd supported us in making sure we got that very good buyback arrangement in place the first time around. We've had advice where it was relevant from the commercial team at Advance Northumberland as well, because they'd been involved in the previous arrangements, and then obviously from council officers as well. So all of that informed the Cabinet decision that was gone through on the 14th, and we wish the ultimate owners now success, and we'll be working very closely with them to make sure that we bring something forward on that site that realises all the jobs and investment that we want to achieve as a council. Thank you, Councillor Dale.
Supplementary, Councillor Dale.
Yes, just to say thank you for that, and I do understand exactly what you're saying. I think the two things that I would raise, though, is that there is a risk appraisal panel process, which is quite enormous, which everybody has to go through, and partners obviously are included in that. And the thing I have concern about is actually bringing council together on this conversation, and so they all understand the risks and also the changes to the potential clauses, which we don't know. If I said that only 5 out of 67 members actually made that decision, but the big thing is that this development, which hopefully will go ahead and will be great for the county, it will outlive this council. So it was actually having a shared risk moving forward. So everything was documented onto one place, with all the risks managed and there for group leaders to be part of. But that would have been, I'd have preferred that to be before the decision was taken. We haven't had a risk panel since 2019 in this council, not risk appraisal panel, not one. So I have to ask that it's very important that actually we work with all the group leaders. I've got the dates if you want. If you'd like to work with the group leaders to ensure that we all can manage that risk and look forward to a really good, strong development in that area.
Thank you, Councillor Dale. So I think that the leaders try to arrange a meeting so that group leaders can meet the new owners, which will be great. We do want, and prior to the last election, we made sure that we brought opposition leaders. In that instance, it was Councillor Dungworth, to meet the team that were developing the site then. Very happy to do it now. Of course, you will recognise that there will no doubt be a Conservative administration for 40 years or so, which will be covering the vast majority of life of the plant. So don't worry too much, okay? But I take the point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. We're well within our 20 minutes, so I will carry on with the agenda. Agenda item 7 is a report of the Chair of the Staff and Appointments Committee on the appointment of a monitoring officer. Please note there is a pink confidential Appendix 1 attached to this report. I'm hoping that we won't need to move into private session, but if we do, we'll have to do the normal thing. Can I ask Councillor Sanderson, as a Chair of the Staff and Appointments Committee, to present the report?
Thank you very much, Chairman. It is with great pleasure that I present this report. There are 2 recommendations there. This is not Stephen Gerrard, the footballer, but this is Stephen Gerrard, a very experienced and very well-spoken about monitoring officer who's coming to us for a fixed term of 2 years. So I'm absolutely delighted that we can move forward like this. And I would therefore propose those recommendations which are in front of you, 1 and 2.
May I have a seconder for that? Councillor Dickinson's nodded his head, so I'll go to Councillor Dickinson. Do we have any questions on that, members? Yeah, Councillor Morford.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, is this a full-time or a part-time post? And how many days a week will the monitoring officer be physically present in County Hall, and how many days will they be working remotely?
I think that is still to be absolutely resolved, and I'm looking... Wait, don't have Suki here, or do we? Yeah, so maybe Suki can answer that better, but it will be a full-time monitoring officer. So it won't be somebody who's only here... Oh, there she is. She won't be. It won't be somebody that's just here occasionally. This is a full-time, 2-year term monitoring officer.
I'll pass over to the monitoring officer.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Leader. That's absolutely correct. Through you, Chair, Councillor Morfitt, it will be a full-time post, 5 days a week. And Stephen has already indicated, although he favours flexible and hybrid working, his presence in the office will be key for the next 2 years. So he will be there more than I have been, and he's looking forward to working closely with the team.
Thank you. Any more questions? Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Chair. Just on the improvement recently in terms of, in the past we had a monitoring officer who had 1 independent person and no deputy monitoring officers. It's been a really positive development that the monitoring team has grown and there's more than 1 independent person. So just saying I hope that that continues with the new monitoring officer.
I take it that you saying you hope it is a question, and I'm sure the answer is yes. Yeah, so I'll say, any more questions? No? Do we want any debate on this?
May I just respond to that sort of rhetorical type question? But it was a question. And the answer is it's an important question to ask. And I think that where we are now is in a very good position because we do have, if you agree now, with these recommendations, we don't just have a new full-time monitoring officer, but we actually have some fantastic people in our legal team and our deputies. And I feel sure that over time, we will see those grow and perhaps even within the next period, be able to take on the job themselves of monitoring officer. So this is the way to go. It's what we wanted, and it's the right way forward. Thank you. Oh, but not forgetting to say thank you to Suki for everything she's done most of the time.
Okay. Do we have no debate on that? There's no one. Do you want some debate on that, Councillor Vaughan?
Well, yes.
That was a question.
Well, it's debate. It's just it's a comment to echo Councillor Sanderson's very fulsome praise to the interim monitoring officer. Obviously, we've had a series of interim monitoring officers, which hasn't been ideal, but we have in Ms Binjal had an amazing monitoring officer who has steered this council through choppy waters with skill, with determination and with fairness. And we wouldn't be at the happy place we are without the exceptional work that she's put in. So I think this council should minute their sincere thanks to her, who's now stepping down after the appointment of a new permanent replacement. Thank you.
Okay. Any more debate? No, it's been proposed and seconded. All those in favour?
And it may just be that Stephen is going to...
Yeah, I'm going to do that, don't worry.
Oh, sorry.
Just stick your hand up. Give your hand up.
Everybody's in favour. Look at that. Fantastic.
And Stephen Jarrett's here today, and could we now welcome him into council? Thank you. Okay, before I take the next item, I'd like members to know that in March, every year starting next March, there'll be an annual report for scrutiny chairs outlining the work our scrutiny committees have taken forward. I believe this was discussed at one of the Microsoft Teams meetings recently. The report today will also be an annual report setting out the key achievements of the Council over the past 12 months. Both reports will contribute towards our continuing journey on being an open and transparent Council by being clear about what we have achieved, and both reports will also celebrate the many good things staff, all members and partners have achieved through working together. And with that, can I ask the leader to present his report?
Thank you very much indeed. Can I just underline the point you've just made about scrutiny? It is absolutely essential scrutiny chairs decide what format they wish to have at a council meeting going forward, and we will make sure that happens. It's absolutely vital that we share ideas and let the very important function of scrutiny explain where they are and how they are assisting the council and ideas for the future. I make no apology, Mr Chairman, for this report in the council agenda because, again, if you look at one or two online, well, I'll call it blog, I don't know whether that's the right term, but the online party political ones that we see occasionally, you will see that the council really doesn't do anything except argue and find problems. So I felt it was right and proper, not just for that reason, but just to spend 5 minutes on acknowledging those great things that this council do, lest we forget. And secondly, making absolutely sure that we recognise the strengths, abilities and dedication of our staff from the top to the bottom, right from the newest apprentice to the chief executive. I'm deeply grateful to all of them in all sections of the council. I know all members are. And so it's very important that we find time to just spend a little bit of time on this. So, if I may, just go very quickly through this. We talk about the new top team. Dr. Helen Patterson has made a tremendous difference in the short time she's been here. We have a new monitoring officer, and we have a new exec team that is taking shape. On improving the council, we do remain very much on target of hitting all those recommendations made by Mr. Calla, which, if you recall, was someone I brought in on the face of some real concerns that I had 18 months ago. And with his help, we have those recommendations which we are forging ahead with. And again, I have to say thank you very much to all the staff involved in that. The corporate plan, member development plan, and all the other things that we're working on at the moment. Working in partnership in the region, I did give you a very brief update, but I am very confident about if the Minded to agreement is agreed and goes through the consultation and is affirmed in its future, I really am absolutely sure that Northumberland will play a really leading part in that. Not just for the sake of Northumberland and its residents, but for the North East region as a whole. Having created good relationships is key, I think, and I think we have that trust and respect amongst leaders to make sure this works. Ensuring the Council helps shape national policy. And we know we're doing that because we are working hard for our rural areas and also for our urban areas, and I'll come back to that in a second. Supporting our county's residents to mark national events. I was really proud, as I know all of you were, because you did so much to help this time a year and a bit ago when Ukraine was invaded. Fantastic effort by all local members and by the council to help then, and that help continues not just with Ukrainian residents but also with refugees that we're currently looking after as well. So supporting the county's residents to mark national events and celebrate heritage. On the sad death of Her Majesty, we did go ahead and find nearly £400,000 to create a number of memorial walks, woodland and other initiatives across the county to make sure that we marked her lifetime in the best way we could. And similarly, our staff are working very hard at the moment on the coronation event, and you will be getting an email very soon, I think, about that and how you all can play a part and how we all can be involved in that as community leaders. And I just have to also recognise the fact that the Union Chain Bridge, which you know we've been working on for a number of years at the moment, but still remains one of the very few cross-border, cross-council, heritage lottery-funded projects that is bringing back to life this 202-year-old bridge, which is something for all to see. And that has been working strongly through partnership with others. Tackling inequalities, I won't spend much time on that because I think you know it is so significant for all of us in this room that we work together on this, and we are determined to continue to make this a priority so that it is only right that a child who is born in Blythe has the same chances as a child born in a more affluent part of the county. And we are dedicated to that. And this morning I was in Blythe, and some local councillors showing just how much they do within their community to make sure the grassroots efforts are as good as millions of pounds coming in one way, and the build-up and the working together is making a transformation to help inequalities there. Delivering on the Climate Change Action Plan, yes, we know about the trees, we know about the woodlands, we know about the free trees, and also the EV charger policy that we are working hard on. And outside, the reason you can't park your car today is because we are building this new solar carport, which is the most incredible thing, that actually uses sunlight to power electric chargers, then powers the cars, and it doesn't cost anything, does it, Richard?
Not once you paid for it.
Not once you paid for it, no. But you know what I mean. We're not relying on any sort of fossil fuel or anything like that. Really clever. And if you get a chance to go and look at it, you should. It's fantastic. Playing our part internationally, as I say, has been made us very proud of everything we've done there. We do listen to communities. We're going to get better at that. I've been through a number of parish and town councils over the last 18 months, and I'm going to continue to do that. I really enjoy doing that. Public meetings are great most of the time. It's something that I like to do, and we will continue to do that on an increasing basis. And of course, the local area council review, which group leaders will receive a copy of the final draft later on today or in the morning, will give you our ideas of how we can make local area councils more fit for purpose, better able to talk to people and have that dialogue with our residents that's so important. Agreeing an ambitious budget for the county council. Well, I know some of you didn't vote for this budget, but you know, if you read this, you'll see why. Maybe that wasn't the right thing to do, because it's a great budget. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. What other council could do a 1.6, 1.7% increase in council tax at a time of 10% inflation? Exactly. I'm very proud of the budget. I'm very proud that we didn't have to cut any frontline services and that we will continue to do the very best for our residents. Investing in new dynamic systems to support customers, that gives you a little bit of idea where we are with IT and broadband rollout. Grants to support residents. Wow, what a fantastic job that section has done in determining and passing through all those different payments that our residents have had through that, and thank you particularly to them. Supporting small and local business. We know the business support that we provide is very efficient. We're going to get even better at that. Our BEST programme, which will make sure that we do everything in the best way we can, at the best possible price, is very much part of this council going forward and will remain an absolutely key point for the council going forward. Helping to tackle food waste. We know about the recycling trial on food waste, going very well so far. I hope we'll be able to roll that up soon. Investing in cycling and walking. Well, we've listened to our Green Party members. We've listened to them. And what have we done? We've spent vast sums of money on cycling and walking initiatives, and so have the government. And think about Bedlington, for example. Look at the money that's being spent in Bedlington. And also Tyndale and that excellent new route between Hexham and Corbridge, and many thanks to the local members there, Councillor Oliver and Cessford, not least. Maintaining our high-quality parks and open spaces. Where else can you go in Britain where you can take your dog for a walk free of charge for an hour and enjoy a countryside walk? Where else can you go? Find me another park in any other council area that you can do that, and I will donate. I'll donate I'll donate something to Brian Gallagher's next Caribbean holiday. Ensuring, sorry, I had to get that in because I saw you were smirking at the back, so I thought I'd just get you with that one. Ensuring winter readiness to council, yeah, really good effort there, thank you for that. Investing in the infrastructure to support local communities, car parks in Amble, car parks in Morpeth, car parks in Berwick, and, you know, wow, what a fantastic effort. And the Hexham one, 250 spaces for free. Fantastic, free car parking. But then you didn't vote for that, did you? No. And I'm nearly finished. I'm sorry, you're going to get me in the neck for this, aren't you? And then nearly finished. I think the thing I have to say most of all, because I can see I'm losing some of you. So what I'm going to say basically is, the thing I'm most proud of, I think probably of anything, is the amount of money that this council is getting invested in the county. Whether it's 16 million in Ashington, and I know the Ashington members will be so proud of the government for that. And you've been so effusive in your praise, it's knocked me over. And also, all the money that we're spending in Blythe, and all the work that the communities and the local members are doing in Blythe, fantastic. And then money that we're getting for Borderlands and Ad Geffrin and Wooler. Go and get some whiskey. Is it any good?
It's really good.
No. And so, look, all I would say is I'm deeply grateful to all our staff. I wanted to just spend 5 minutes just running through our achievements. This is not saying this is all down to the administration. It's not that at all. I just want us all to just pause for a while and reflect on how good this council is, how far it's come, how great our staff are, and how good is our ambition. And I'm really grateful to have had this chance to run through it. Thank you.
Member, you've proposed that and you're seconding that, Councillor Member. Thank you. Members, please note this item is for noting, but does anyone have any questions? I'll go through group leaders first if you've done that. So, in the normal fashion, as I noticed you've indicated to. Councillor Dickinson.
It's not a question, Chair. If you're on questions, I apologise. I thought you were going into a comment.
I'm not sure, are we having a debate here?
Just a comment.
I'll let you have your comment. Go, do you want to do it here?
So, Richard, please put a flannel on his head. He worked really hard on that. Good Lord, the energy put into that there. But this document, we looked at it on the basis that we all have a responsibility as corporate councillors. And actually, this document, I remember when the previous administration used to bring an annual achievement document to the council and what you had to say about it at the time. But this is about corporate council business. This is about the general function of the council every day. It's about the partners that we work with, and it's about the organisations that support us bring the money into Northumberland and deliver, because lots of these projects have been going for many years. Lots of them are really new. Lots of them require a partner or another organisation to work with us. And as a council, it shows the commitment and dedication of the staff for whatever is going on around them. They have continued to press on and deliver for the people of Northumberland, because the vast majority of them are Northumbrians themselves. And I think this document actually recognises that. And I'm not going to get drawn into the party political bit, Glenn, that you wanted to. And I was hoping you weren't going to use it like that, because we really want it to be a corporate body on this, but hey-ho. So we very much welcome it, and we hope everybody reads it and that the residents read it to see what's happening. Oh, somebody clearing their throat in the middle of... You're not on mute, Jan.
Okay, I've gone a little bit off piece, but can I go to questions? Councillor Kennedy, any questions? Councillor Reid, any questions?
Well, yeah, I guess. First of all, I just wanted to say that, you know, well done for standing up and trying to defend this. Yes, list it as an achievement. It was just that I guess the report in the agenda is a bit of an allegory for the achievements of the council, with all the pages in the wrong order, and it not delivering the impact that you thought it might. But anyway, the two things I would say, if you've got to put the delivery of a budget as an achievement, then, you know, you really are at the backstop. That is something we have to do. You know, if you can't achieve a budget, then goodness knows. Anyway, and the other thing, you're talking about car parks. I was just wondering where that kind of fits into the climate change crisis that we have when we're trying to persuade people not to use cars, and you're going on about how many car parking spaces we've made. Then surely it should be the other way around. We should be actually having a proper bus service that people can use to get around Northumberland and subsidise it if we have to, rather than, you know, investing vast sums in car parks. But anyway, you know, there you go. I look forward to next year's.
Councillor Morford.
Thank you. Martin and I appreciate the update on the Council's climate actions on page 59 of the agenda, but we've noticed there's no data to show us where we are on our journey to net zero. So the Green Group would like to ask that next year's achievements report contains more data to tell us how we're doing, and we'd also like to ask for an update to this year's report, giving us the same information.
I've had a couple of members indicate, can I just, because I went off piece, I do apologise, I shouldn't have. Are there any questions before I go into a debate, or is it a question, Councillor Oliver?
It is a question, thank you. I congratulate Glenn on it is a fantastic list of achievements that illustrates the wide variety of work that this council does for Northumberland residents, and I'm not sure everybody really realises that. But the question I'd ask is, will Councillor Sanderson join me in hoping to see an extension to the Corbridge car park on this list next year, which will be full of electric cars?
Councillor Daly's indicated he wanted to speak. It might have been a debating point. Now, I'm going to ask, does anyone else want to have a debate on this? Because if not, I'll just bring in Councillor Daly now. I've seen a couple of you, enough of you to do a debate, proper debate. So, Glenn, did you want to answer any of those questions now, and then we'll get into debate?
I can. I'm desperate to know what Councillor Gallagher's going to ask, though.
Okay. Do you want to come? Are we happy to go to those questions when you sum up, then? Yeah. That's fine. Okay, Councillor Daly, then.
Thank you, Chair. So, I think this is a good report, and it perhaps makes us realise just how much this council has actually done, given some quite traumatic periods over the last couple of years. So, in a sense, we've been getting on with what we should be doing at quite traumatic times. So, I want to just delve into this a little bit more. So, 2017, when the Conservative administration took over and I was deputy leader with responsibility for children's services, it is fair to say that this council was not particularly good in terms of our children's services. Ofsted were worried about us. There's a judge in Newcastle called Judge Hudson. Family Court, we were on a watch list. Our children's services, our social work team, we're not well respected. And you would say, oh, well, that's just a process thing, we can put it right. Actually, no, it isn't, because it's about the lives of young people. Because every time we get something wrong, it has an impact on our young people's lives and their ability to transform and transition into employment. So this report, I like it. Just a technical thing, could we please have it a bit more themed? Because it's just a list of things, and I think it'd be really good if we could theme it a little bit more. There's 9 points in this report on education, and as chair of the Family and Children's Services Committee, I want to draw a little bit on that today. So I want to try and bring this a little bit to life, because it's just a list of things and people will look at that going, yeah. So I just want to bring this to life, because that's what this is about. That's what everything we do as a council should be about. The end result for our constituents, for the people who live in our county. So, in Cramlington, we have something called the Hub. If you haven't been there, come along. It's the former library. Great big white building, amazing. Come in. It's a library. It's a community facility. It is an activity place for our community to find out about what's going on and participate. But tucked away in the back of it is a little cafe. And that cafe is staffed by students who come from something called Project Choice. And Project Choice is a specific scheme for young people furthest away from the labour market, you know, got real challenging behaviours, they're actually looking after that cafe, serving food. And I know Glenn and I have had meetings there with other councillors, and they've been in, they've served us teas, coffees. That was the decision by this council to actually run the Project Choice scheme. The reason that I'm saying this brings it to life is because they're getting experience of real life work. We take that real experience and it transforms in their ability to get a job later on. So for me, this is something about what the council does, which has an impact on our communities. And all the way through here, what I'm seeing is our schools are improving. Our schools were terrible in 2016. Trust me, they were awful. Our children's services needed a reset. And we've actually had that reset. We've had a reform. Our schools are improving. We should never forget the massive support that our teaching staff and the support staff and council staff, and I know Audrey's here as, you know, our newly appointed Director of Children's Services, but our staff during COVID and our teaching staff went above and beyond to support our young people. So that tells me that that service is actually doing a brilliant job, and there's actually much that can be learned from this service across other parts of our council services. So apologies for putting Audrey on the spot here, but there's a great exemplar there for how a focused team, knowing what it wants to achieve with very clear outcomes and results, can make a massive impact for our communities. But I do think this is a good opportunity for us to say, right, this is where we are now, and it's benchmarking for where we go forward. We should have that graph going up further as time progresses. So I think this is a good report. I think in terms of education, the people out there can have assurance that our schools are working, that they get brilliant support from our children's services team here at County Hall. And, you know, going back to 2017, I did promise a revolution in education. We've had that. It's a good revolution. Happy to have been part of it. And this is part of a collective effort across all of us. So without stepping into a report which is coming on the challenge board, I think what this tells us is where you have focus, where you have direction, where you have clear purpose, you can achieve phenomenal things. And that's what I want this council to do. And as Chair of FACS, some of the members are here, we put challenge in, we do call out things when we believe they're wrong. And I've started, so I'll finish. So I just think that we need to work together more to get the best outcome for our community. But I'm delighted you brought this, Glenn. It's a real good reminder of the things that we do. So thank you very much.
Councillor Gallagher.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just want to bring a couple of points. And I welcome the presentation that the leaders put forward there. It was worth listening to. But one of the points that you brought up in our local lack was that Ashington, Newbiggin and Blythe were rural areas, not urban areas. And what you said was there was a promise and a pledge from you as the leader that you would respect that. I would like that to go a step forward. And I would also like all departments, all heads of departments to understand that. Because in the political arena, that can be a two-edged sword. So the reality is, if we've got that clarity of where we go to, where we get our funding from, dare I say it, where we get our begging bowls from, that there's a little bit of clarity and a little bit of a route for that. So that would be very much welcomed. You mentioned about the 16.4 million for Ashington. Very much welcomed. And as my colleague said there before, we'd love more. We need more. Because if you take the cost of living out when this process first started 2 years ago, what we're going to get for 16.4 million 2 years ago is diluted a lot. So, yes, I have got the begging bowl out for Ashington. Yes, we'd need more. But what we also need in Ashington is scrutiny. That money that is going to be delivered, and ironically, it was delivered on the back of a national budget and it wasn't a local budget. So it caused all officers and people that were involved with that decision to caught them with their pants down, basically. But it's still welcome. But the scrutiny of how the delivery and the quality of the work that comes in Ashton is paramount. So thank you very much for that, Chair.
Right, I've got Councillor Robinson, then Councillor Dale, then Councillor Ball. So Councillor Robinson.
Chair, I'll withdraw mine because in the main
Thank
I'll
you.
be repeating
Councillor Dale.
Sorry, I'm going to cancel again. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the update report. And there's some really good things in here that have been going on for a long time, some of them. I mean, you know, we've got the Northumberland line, Borderlands, and they've been going on for a long time. I'm so pleased that the Northern line is going, Northumberland line is going ahead and is moving quickly. Borderland seems to be slowing down a little, and I'd like to see a little bit more enthusiasm or oomph there to make sure that people actually know it's been delivered. Borderlands has a reputation of always being quite slow in its delivery. So I think we have, you know, and I've had to say to people, hold your breath, wait a minute. Can I just say that obviously there's massive achievements, and I do think, which is in the report, is about this performance cycle. And I think people would like to see actually the performance indicators and delivering some of the things, obviously, key performance indicators is laid down by the government. So there's the really good news, but what we'd like to see is how quickly you're delivering them, how well you're delivering. And I think in 2008 or 9, we did have, and Councillor Reid will put me right on this one, we did have a key performance indicators working group, which we all went in, and we monthly, or actually quarterly, we used to get key performance indicators and check them. And actually it was great because we could look at the outturn of various functions that the council were doing, not only those of the government, but the ones that we were actually putting forward. And so I think it would help, because I think it would also help to go into the new BEST strategy. Somebody said to me the other day, the roads are awful. And I said, well, I do actually, if I'm cleaning my floor, I actually brush it first before I start to scrub it. And there's all kinds of things people can learn going through on the BEST evaluation. So I put this to an officer, and he said, that's a really good idea, put it forward, so I have. But anyway, just to say thank you, I'd like to say thank you to Councillor Daly, because he was the foundation. I remember when he came in as the the chairman, the cabinet member for facts for children's education, how strong he was and committed to children. And I'm a great believer in every child matters, and I also believe that every child has a skill, and it's up to our schools to bring out that skill which helps them into their future careers. I actually still work in the careers department, working with all kinds of companies to providing apprenticeships. We had 90 at the last careers evening I had, and it's really vital. But it's so good to see some of those students returning and offering their skills back into the community. And I look forward to carrying on with that work. I know that Councillor Daly is working with the various other places on inequalities, and you probably know there's a new book that's come out by somebody who lives very close to me on the rural inequalities. And rural inequalities there's a lot of that about at the moment. And I was trying to discuss the difference between deprivation and rural inequality. And so we've got to be careful that we don't muddle them all up. Anyway, thank you for the report. I will keep an eye on, but I would like to see more performance indicators of how actually well the council is performing on their achievements, whether it's high or low.
Councillor Ball.
Thanks, Chair. So in the budget meeting, I thanked Councillor Sanderson for his delivery of the story of the budget. Thank you today for the second chapter. Well delivered. And the 16.4 million, I am over the moon that Ashington's getting that, but I'm not going to ask for it more money. I'm going to demand more money for Ashington, because unfortunately, we've seen some great achievements in this report, and congratulations on each and every one of them, but it's not to be celebrated until mortality rates are equal right the way across this county, till poverty doesn't exist within this county, till kids have literacy and numeracy and the opportunities right the way across this county. So yes, we've got some great achievements here, but this is not even the start of where we need to be in this county. So for somebody from Ashington, born and bred, I want to see better for the people of Ashington, but for Bedlington and everywhere else as well. So yes, celebrate today, but you've got a hell of a lot more work that needs to be done in this county. Thank you.
Councillor Guy Renner-Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to say thank the other members, Daly and Dale, for their comments on children's services, and I would like to correct something in the report. The report says a record 89.6% of schools are rated good or outstanding. As of today, that is 91.4%. So we are now over 90% of our schools in Northumberland, all 149 schools we have, are good or outstanding. Now, I tried to easily tap away on my phone and find some comparables to other councils in the North East, but it's quite tricky. The information's not out there. But ours, if any member can look at this, go online, the Northumberland Education, which is our website, but it's a separate website to the council website, can see those reports coming in and can see all the data relating to children's services alongside all the support that's available from Northumberland County Council to schools in our county. I would hope you all have a look at that and you can see the great work that we've been doing.
Councillor Lynn Grimshaw.
Thank you. Councillor Sanderson, I know you said you didn't elaborate very much on the equalities, but I think it's essential that we do, go in depth with the equalities. And, it's all, yes, we're praising everything that's happening today, but what we still got to remember, there's still people that can't afford to buy a loaf of bread. And I think equalities should have been high on the agenda today if I had to give a little bit more information. There's people who can't pay their rent, they can't live from day to day. There is poverty. So, let's not celebrate too much because there's still a lot of work to do. But I still think that we should have an in-depth report of the equalities that you've actually done to date. Because, as I say, we are a long way off being perfect council. Thank you.
Any more for any more? Councillor Wearmouth, are you, as a seconder, are you beginning the wind-up on this now?
I think that the leader will sum up, but I'm happy just to add a few points and a few bits of clarity. We heard a little bit about buses in the discussion and the debate, and indeed there's some government funding out for buses at the moment, which reduces fares considerably. We've got a great new pot of money that's come in through the JTC and will continue through the devolution deal subject to that being successful, which is of course another significant achievement of this council working in partnership with the rest of the LA7 authorities. There was a point that Councillor Morfitt made regarding net zero. We're making great progress towards net zero, and we'll see some more information come on that in due course. Lots of schemes that didn't get talked about in the key achievements because probably they will become key achievements in themselves, whether it's on district heating, whether it's on the deployment of the EV fleet, and we've answered a question about that to you in electronic form a little bit earlier in the week from last time. In terms of schools, that is an amazing achievement that we should have 91.4% of schools good or outstanding. And what a fantastic journey the education team's gone on in the last number of years. The number of schools that have been rebuilt, the amount of money that's been spent in SEND provision, and the amount of money that we've managed to attract externally as well, where it hasn't been our own site. I think that some councillors were on site in Blyth last week, was it, to mark groundbreaking on another school that's just recently got started. I would remind Ashington councillors that that 16.4 million is great, and of course there is more that's been done in Ashington. The securing of the Northumberland line, which is a massive achievement in terms of the final finance package that we secured from DFT. And it doesn't stop there in Ashington. Of course, there's the funding of the complete rebuild of Ashington College. That's around about £45 million that's going into central Ashington. It's a huge amount that's going to be spent in construction, never mind optimising education in terms of FE provision for the future of the South East of the county, and that you'll actually be able to get on public transport and access it from up and down the Northumberland line, and let's hope we can get some east-west connectivity in terms of railway in due course. And an investment as well in Ashington, don't ever forget, in Ashwood Business Park, which was stalled for many years as a bit of derelict earth before there was an intervention by ourselves and the LEP to start making real traction on delivery of that site. Councillor Dale, you mentioned something on KPIs. There will be something coming on the end of Q4, which is in this around about the end of summer, maybe as late as September. Let's forget that summer goes well into September, but round about that sort of time, you'll see something come forward on that. So just keep a watch out for that, and we'll highlight it to you just in case it goes unnoticed for any reason. But a fantastic report. This is the council that I recognise, that I come in and work for every day, and that I sit on so many calls and receive so many emails and visit so many sites and places around the county. There's been difficulty in these last few months and years, but what's been delivered and where our trajectory is as a council is the rival, I would think, of virtually every local authority in the country in terms of the amount of money that we're attracting from government, the schemes that we're seeing going out, the improvements in education, and yes, indeed, the fact that there are very few people that are having to seek employment claiming out-of-work benefits. It's 3-point-something% in this county, better than the English average, way better than the North East average. It's a fantastic accomplishment for all of us, and particularly that we want to see more of that, more and better jobs, tackling inequalities and making sure we deliver value for money. We're well on the way. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Sanderson.
Yes, thank you very much. If I could just touch on a couple of the points raised, if I may. First of all, Councillor Ball and Councillor Grimshaw, I know you're both right, and that's why we've made tackling inequalities one of our 3 key priorities. If we hadn't done that, I might not have had the commitment or shown the commitment that I have personally and this administration, and I think the whole council have. We will get there. We can't do it on our own, but we will get there and do everything we can to make sure that everyone has an equal chance in life. On Councillor Gallagher, there will be local member involvement in the work that we're going to do in Ashington. Of course there will be, and we will keep you involved in that. As far as Councillor Dale's point about the Borderlands not moving as fast as perhaps we would like, I think the basic problem has been that that has been so complex, a lot of these things that we're working on. Inflation hasn't helped, and in some of the town deals, it's been more difficult than we thought potentially to get local agreement about what actually everyone wanted. But I think we are getting there, and I'm confident that we will get there. Certainly the big projects like Gefren, Lily Dorai, which opens next month in Alnwick, Maltings, which is going to start being up and running, the barracks, which will be starting very soon. So, I think it's doing really well, considering everything that it's, inflation and so on. On rural inequalities, well, that's one of the reasons why we bid for and got £9 million to help us with that. And from the North of Tyne, I'm very grateful to the North of Tyne for that new money, and it will be spent very wisely. On education, thank you very much for taking the point I was going to make. So I won't say it again. Oh, well, I might.
I nicked it as well.
And you nicked it as well. But it's something we all need to be proud of. It's not something that we need to be saying, oh, that's just the Tories saying they've done that. It's not that. It is our staff. It's our school improvement team, which has been sensational and still is. So it's that joint effort that makes that improvement that I'm so proud of. I have a piece of paper that's framed on my desk that shows where we were in 2017, which is below the national quartile. Today, in 2022, we are above the national quartile. That's fantastic progress. I have told Audrey, sadly, there isn't any sort of performance-related pay in any of this, but she doesn't need any more money anyway, she says, so that's fine. It's fantastic leadership, and Wayne, you're quite right to highlight that, so thank you for doing that. The Corbridge car park, well, of course, waiting for you. Sort it out and it'll be delivered. The net zero target, we will, and I think it's a really good point, actually, that we need to have a little bit more in about where we are in trying to achieve that target. We are doing an awful lot, but I take your point. And I also take the point, actually, that Councillor Dale raised about performance indicators. I think it might have been good to have had a little bit about that in here, because I think generally we are proud of where we're going on our performance. So let's do that next time, Phil, if we can. And then finally, yes, Councillor Reid. Yes, I can feel proud of our budget. 1.9% at the maximum on our council tax at a time of 10% inflation. What about the Police and Crime Commissioner? What did she put it up by? Do you remember? 9.8%. What about Berwick?
She's just been given a load more money.
Anyway, so there we are. So, yeah, well, I can.
No. Summing up, you got last word.
Right, I think we need to get a bit of order in the chamber. Thank you.
I must finish if I may. So on the point about the car parks, it's a very good question. Yes, that balance between climate, what we're doing about that, and car parks. We still think there is a compromise and there's a balance between encouraging tourists to come to our towns to spend their money there and encouraging business growth and prosperity by encouraging residents and local people to come and shop there. So that's still a key priority for us. But it doesn't deter us from what we're doing on EV charging points and the solar car park and so on. And Richard did touch on the Bus Improvement Partnership. Huge amount of money coming to us shortly. I think it's going to be £1 at maximum fare for under 22s, I seem to remember. And a much improved rural bus service. So it all works together. And so may I therefore, do I need to put a recommendation?
No, it's been proposed and seconded. We don't need a vote on it.
Well,
so we can just
sit down
end it just there. And I'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the Challenge Board's second interim report to the Member Oversight Group. I'll hand over, while he takes a gulp of water, to the Leader of the Council to say a few words.
Thank you very much. And I just say that this report is there. Thank you.
Is that being proposed? Is there a seconder for that report? Councillor Stewart. Are there any questions on that? Councillor Dale.
Can I just make an observation? Sorry.
Question.
Yes. Well, I'll make an observation. I'll make a question. Do you want me to ask the question, or do you want me to make an observation? Well, are you asking? Are we going to have a debate on it?
I don't think we are. No.
We're not.
No, just questions, please.
Right, well, thank you very much. I think one of the things I would like to see, which is mentioned in the Challenge Board in particular, is have an overarching plan about how we take forward the leadership of all of us as leaders of the council. And it's mentioned, and it's about training, it's about the pace of all the new things that are coming on, the constitution, everything. And I feel, as I said, I think before, I don't work. I'm not at the beck and call of anybody. I have my own diary, my own time. But there are a lot of people in this council who are working full time. And I think we need to have a proper development programme in place, which we can all agree to sign up to. So for training, the Constitution, instead of having 3 days' notice of the first meeting, etc. Can I just say...
Lots of members are mouthing at me, where is the question?
Right, so fine. Can I ask you then? Yep. Well, so can I have, please, could you give members a promise of developing a plan for leadership in which we can all sign into, which is exactly what is in this report, and make sure that we can actually manage the pace of that programme. And that is so I would like that maybe taken to group leaders. If you could respond to that, please. I'm sure the group leaders will work to bring something together.
So one of the key points on the recommendations, there are 10 recommendations from Cala, following my inviting him to come in here 18 months ago. And one of those is around member development. Councillor Dow. One of them is around... Can you hear me? Yeah. Oh, right. One of them is around councillor development. I thought you would. One of them is around councillor development, and we have a personal development plan paper that has been presented to all members, which they can fill online or on paper. That will then give members the opportunity to highlight those areas that they would like more development in, and then that will be all pulled together, and there will be a new programme of tailored, relevant training for all members starting in May. So that work is being overseen by the members steering group. Is that members steering? Members working group. Thank you. That work is being overseen by that. So it's all very much.
Councillor Sharp chairing that, not me.
Yeah, I'm saying thank you very much. And so that's very much in hand, I think.
Can I just mention, I think what I'm talking
No,
about...
you can't. Is it a question?
Yes.
No, well, you can't.
I'm talking about a corporate plan.
Excuse me, Councillor Dale. Now, many people might not like my chairing, many people might not like me, but I am in charge of this chamber as the chair. And when I ask for questions, I have asked for questions. I don't have back forth like that. So I'm going to go to the next person asking a question, which is Councillor Dickinson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, just to be clear, this is a question to you. Are we not accepting comments? So would you like me to kind of ask questions now, or...?
I think one of the problems I've got with this is that it's not my report, and there are no members of the Challenge Board here to answer questions. I'll certainly give an answer to any questions you might put, but I can't guarantee I can answer them on their behalf.
Okay.
That's why I was keen on questions rather than...
So rather than the comments I was going to make, I'll form it into a question. So, there's a number of recommendations in here and a number of things that we've had twice now around council engagement in the process, around access of information. The leaders generally aren't entirely sure that the MOG group's working because it's quite a tense environment and whether we can actually pull together. So I wonder how we're going to correct the engagement process, and if, Glenn, you've already started that following this report, that's great, and can you just tell us about it? 2, how are we going to support the leaders who continually are quoted as a member oversight group and a cross-party group, but generally receive very little in terms of the oversight of the actual work? So I'm getting a little bit concerned about the language, so how do we correct that? And overall, there's a number of recommendations that need to be achieved and achieved at pace, because actually the trajectory that Councillor Wearmouth was talking about in the previous report, the staff and the partners and the other organisations absolutely deserve for us to get this bit right, because to remain on that trajectory, the rest of it has to be correct. So if those questions could be answered in a bit of clarity, because usually the group leaders would comment on this report, being part of the MOG and others, but that's the best I can do with little notice that wasn't going to happen.
Councillor, do you want to take the answer now, or do you want to take...
I mean, are there any others? Or?
I've got Councillor Hill who's got a question.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say that the work of the Challenge Board is, and I think I'm using their words, is to be a critical friend. And hands up who like to criticism.
Yeah, it's all very interesting. Is it a question,
Yes,
Councillor Hill? Right, can
I
we get to
have
the
got a
question,
yeah.
please? Thank you.
So the question is, this is a really important process, are we going to keep the Challenge Board? And if so, what's the timescales? Are we expecting an update in 6 months, 2 more reports, just the process in regards to Challenge Board's work here?
Thank you. I'm very appreciative of you getting to the question. Councillor Sanderson.
Thank you. So on that one first, we will be discussing with the Challenge Board how best to move on to the next phase, and that discussion will take place next month. When I invited them to come in, and I said to them, you can speak to anybody and do anything. Just help us if you can to just make sure we keep the pace going on the recommendations from the Calla report, so we can just get it done and start thinking a little bit more about people out there and the services that we were just talking about 10 minutes ago, rather than this concentrating too much on internal issues. On Councillor Dickinson's point, I am absolutely confident that we are absolutely on track of meeting the recommendations that were made. Yes, I want to keep the pace going because I want to think about people out there. I want our officers, our incredibly talented officers, to be dealing with really important big stuff. What are we going to do next? What are the next big ideas? What can we do? You know, how can we place ourselves right at the forefront of county councils in the country? That's the stuff I want us to be thinking about. So this is an exercise that's been really helpful. We will complete it fairly soon, and I'm grateful to you and to the other group leaders for their collegiate approach on this, and I feel we've made really good progress on it, and that progress is marching along really well.
I've got Councillor Kennedy and then I've got Councillor Morford. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just on page 95, just about the budget process. You know, it mentions here how disappointed they were to hear views that the budget process progressed to approval through the council without early or full involvement of the opposition group. And also members had been given a promise that the budget outline, this is on 236, members had been given a promise that the budget outline would be shared in January. This didn't happen in the way nor on the timeline it had in previous years. So, you know, obviously the budget is the key milestone in any council. You know, and I just like, you know, just a question to Glenn, like, can we have that addressed properly, please, and not what happened this year where it was just a one-party choice of the budget and nobody else got a say.
Do you want to answer that one, or do you want to say Councillor Morford as well?
Well, if there's more, but please may I say, look, this is not my report. This is the challenge board. And if there are questions about the content within it, really, if they're not here to answer, it's not really fair to make me answer on their behalf. I will try my best, but I'll give you the answers that I believe in, and I will obviously give cognizance to what they say as best I can.
Councillor Morford.
Thank you. The report recommends that the Council notes the findings of the Challenge Board report, which the Green Group considers to be slightly weak wording. I'm just wondering whether it might be better to change the wording and to accept the recommendations of the report instead.
I think that's possibly something I need to go to the monitoring officer about. Suki, are you there?
I am, Leader.
Yeah, did you get the point that Councillor Morford had made? Would you like...
I think Councillor Morford actually has put a recommendation that amends the report's recommendation.
Right.
And if that's the case, if Councillor Morford, through you, Chair, could write that recommendation down, which is an alternative recommendation, and if it's seconded, then you can have a discussion whether you want to vote that recommendation in. If that falls, then you go back to the original recommendation in the report.
Okay. Right. I think there's some other people who've got points of clarification on that. Would one member like to put their microphone on and ask for the clarification for the monitoring officer?
Well, simply this. I have to say again, this is not my report. It's not our report. It's the report of the Challenge Board. So we were asked to note the findings and suggested next steps as proposed. That's the recommendation that they wish us to discuss, as far as I'm aware. So that's the way I think we should just do it, personally.
Monitoring officer, do you have anything to say on that?
Through you, Chair, I mean, the Leader is correct that this report actually isn't the findings of the council. There is a cover report which allows this report to be placed for your attention, and it is the interim report number 2 from the Challenge Board. And they're interim 2 findings. They don't ask you to accept, they don't ask you to agree, they ask you to note. But however, if Councillor Morford wants to put through an amendment to the recommendation, he's entitled to, but I would advise you, Chair, to have that in writing, have it seconded, and then it goes to the Chamber if they wish to vote that amendment in.
Okay, have we got it in writing first? Which, okay, I'll accept it's in writing there. Do you wish to read it out? And see if anyone wants to second it.
Sure, yeah, well, I'm a little bit confused because the page 83 of the agenda pack seems to be the report of Glenn Sanderson, and that's where it says it is recommended that Council notes the findings. It doesn't seem to be the Challenge Board advising us to note the findings.
Some advice on that, Sue?
Yes, through you, Chair. Councillor Morford, the advisory board, they're not a member of the council. People that can place agenda items are councillors that belong to the council, and therefore this is just a process cover report, because otherwise you would have this challenge board report without a cover report to let you know what it is. And that is the only reason. It is not a report of the leader of the council. It is a report, as I've said, from the challenge board. It's interim report number 2 from them, and it's to the member oversight group. Now, this was part of the leader's promise to the chamber that when there were reports presented from the advisory board, they would come to this full chamber. But the report is to the member oversight board, and it's being laid here. And actually the report that Councillor Sanderson has got is a cover report to enable it to be placed on the council agenda. I hope that clarifies the position.
Councillor Morford, and I'll come in.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Suki. So as long as the challenge board is happy with us noting their report in full council, then I am happy as well. So thank you for clarifying.
Thank you for that, Councillor Morford. Okay, thank you. Any more questions on this? Councillor Reid.
Thanks, Chair. I was just wondering, when you look and you read the challenge board report, there are there's a juxtaposition between it and the previous thing that we've just talked about. So how comfortable is the leader with seeing a report that's fairly uncompromisingly, what's the word I'm looking for? Uncomplimentary, then putting it next to a report that is fairly complimentary, which is where's the balance between the two is the question.
Councillor Sanderson, do you wish to answer that?
Okay, so I took a report that noted all the achievements of our staff and our council. I wouldn't say it was fairly complimentary, I would say hugely complimentary, and anyone that didn't think that we've managed to attract all the money that we've had, create all the jobs that we've done, find all the services that we've continued to perform, do all the work across there that we're looking at now, all of this, that is fantastic. And anybody that says it's quite complimentary, with respect, is being slightly uncomplimentary. And so, as I say before, this thing that you've got here is from the challenge board. If you've got questions, ask them about it. I have no comment to make other than that.
Any further questions? I don't see any, so that's been noted. So I'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is item 10. It's a report of the pay policy settlement. The County Council is required to prepare and publish a pay policy statement. I said settlement earlier, so I'll correct myself. And this is reviewed annually. Can I invite Councillor Wearmouth to present the report?
Thank you, Chair. This is a report that comes to the Council every year, and so I don't propose to spend a significant amount of time on it. Hopefully you've had time to review the document. Just to make it really straightforward, you should be able to see in underlined text in the document where it's changed. I think that these are entirely positive and sensible changes, and I would commend them to you and hope that you support them. Thank you.
Can I have a seconder for that, please? Seconded, I'll take Councillor Reid. Okay. Do members have any questions to ask? Councillor, I'll go through the leaders in order, because I've got out of that habit. Glenn, you haven't got any questions? No questions to ask?
If Councillor Wearmouth could just update us on the equal pay and the gender pay issue, which I think has just come forward.
Thank you to the leader for volunteering me to do that. I did wonder if we were going to get into a discussion on pay equality in terms of this discussion, even though this is the pay policy, rather than actually delving into the detail of how we pay people and whether there's equality. So I will circulate a paper in due course. I'm not too sure if it's completed yet and going through some checks, so I haven't been able to circulate it to date. But if I recall correctly, without my notes to hand, I think that 60% roughly of our workforce in this last year have been women, and very pleased to say that on balance they are paid ever so slightly more than men.
Yeah. Okay.
Councillor Dickinson, question.
Good Lord, he's gushing today for blooming... Watch yourself, Richard. He'll put you on the spot for someone else. anything to cloud the report and not answer any of the questions, may I add, which is very disappointing for you, Glenn. However, on 111, Appendix 2, it talks about 8 and 9, which is the deletion of paragraph, and when you turn to page 114, it relates to the Chief Executive and Senior Officers and the JNC. Now, I remember not too long ago last year when there was a lot of hoo-ha about JNC recommendations, executive officer recommendations, and we had to insert things to make sure it was absolutely clear. Now we're proposing to delete things that were put in to make things clear, and it's leaving it a bit ambiguous. So would we then just assume, moving forward, that the Chief Executive is covered by the JNC Chief Executives, and would we just assume that paragraph 9, where it talks about senior officers of the council, etc., relate to JNC chief officers? Because it was a big thing not long ago, and I don't want to get into that position should anything happen again where we're not absolutely clear who's covered by what. And I just don't understand, Richard, if you could answer it, why for legal clarity they're being deleted. It doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. So I might prevail on support from the monitoring officer or the 151 officer if we've got representation from HR. I'm not too sure. I'm not an expert in this capacity. Although what I would say is that things that might have been done in the past weren't necessarily the best way of doing things. And if it's in this document, I'm satisfied that officers have got it correct. But I will prevail on the monitoring officer who has appeared over my shoulder to give you some further feedback, perhaps. Obviously.
Monitoring officer.
Chair, thank you. And sorry, Councillor Wearmouth, for appearing behind you on your shoulder there. And Councillor, through you, Chair, Councillor Dickinson, you're correct. We did have a lot of confusion with regard to senior officers' terms and conditions, whether they were JNC or not. Number 9 has been amended to reflect the work that we've been doing over the last 18 months, 2 years, 12 months particularly, and trying to get our senior officers on JNC. So, for instance, our new chief executive has been employed on the JNC. You'll remember, because you're a part of STAC, that's what we've done. There are still some officers that are employed on the Northumberland County Council terms and conditions, but we are actually trying to align all our terms and conditions as we go on. I can ask the Director of HR to provide you with some further written response if I've forgotten anything, but I know it's a case of tidying up what we've been actually working with. And each year we're finding things that we need to update our pay policy on. For instance, you'll notice that we've actually provided clarity where some officers can have a supplementary payment. We were given supplementary payments to some officers without an appropriate scheme of delegation, and we had to always take that back through STAC, and we're actually aligning that with the legislation as well. It's a living document. There will be things that perhaps we haven't captured this time. So, you know, it's an in-year document which will be changed if necessary. And I hope that answers your question. But as I said, if I've forgotten anything, I will ask the Director of HR and OD to respond to you in writing.
Okay. Right. Just before I go further, I notice you've got problems with the light in here. Well, firstly to say I'll ask about shading for future meetings. But secondly, if you do wish to move seat, then I don't have a problem if you want to move seats. Right, okay, well, yeah, come. Right, okay. Okay, I opened myself up for that one, so the next, might I ask, does Councillor Kennedy have any questions? Does Councillor Reid have any questions? And Councillor Morford, do you have any questions? Yes.
Thank you. It's good to see that the pay multiple has fallen, so that's the ratio of maximum to median pay. But it would be far more illuminating to see the ratio of maximum to minimum pay. Could this possibly be included in future pay policy statements and possibly in the report that you've offered to circulate, Richard?
We'll certainly look into that, Councillor Morford. It depends on
specific advice from HR. Obviously, this is a particular document that comes here in terms of pay policy, rather than updating you on some of these things. I note that there is some commentary in there.
Do any other members have any questions? No. Okay. Do anyone wish to debate on this, or can I just move? I'll go. Thank you. Not your best one, but there are. I'll move to recommendations as set out in the report, and can we have the vote, please? All those in favour, can you show? I think it's unanimous. Yeah, it's looking unanimous. That's unanimous. I'll just check. Against, abstaining. No, that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. We have no further items to consider, but I'd like to take this opportunity to remind members that the next meeting will be on the 17th of May 2023, which will be our annual general meeting. Thank you for your time. I will now close this meeting. Members, please note we now move into the extraordinary council meeting. Would we like to go straight into that in about 30 seconds' time? That's fine. Okay. Do you want to turn the camera off and then turn it back on? Okay, thank you very much for that. Good afternoon and welcome to this extraordinary meeting of the Council. I'd like to remind you all that this meeting is live on the YouTube channel. Before we move into this afternoon's proceedings, there are a few housekeeping rules that I'd like to bring to members' attention. One, I'd like to remind members and officers to stand when they are speaking in the chamber. And also, please remind members that any speeches must be limited to 6 minutes and directed to the item or question under discussion. Please remind members, officers, including press and public that are in attendance today, that all mobile phones must be put in silent mode and no call should be made or received in the chamber during the meeting. Item 1 is apologies for absence. I've got councillors Watson, Scott, Ferguson, Murphy, Fairless-Aiken, Dodd, Lee, Purvis, Foster. Thank you. And Towns. Disclosure of members' interest. Does any member have any interest to declare? No, great, thank you. Agenda item 3 is a report on honorary freemen and free women. Can I ask the leader to present?
Thank you very much, Chairman. The recommendation is there in front of you. 3 outstanding individuals who have given great service to and continue to give great service to the county. Tony Gates, Chief Executive of Northumberland National Park, has brought great honour to the county. Winton Keenan has been an exceptionally fine police officer. And Liz Morgan, who helped enormously during the COVID times and was a great support to me in the first few months when I became the leader at that particular time. So may I make those recommendations, please? That's 1, 2, 3, and 2. And I formally propose those.
Okay, do I have a second on that? I'll take Councillor Dickinson as seconding those. Do we have any questions on those? Any debate on that? Do you want me to? Do leaders want to go on this debate at all? I'm not seeing any, so I'll go straight to Councillor Hill then.
Thank you, Chair. The only thing I want to say about this is I don't know any of the individuals apart from Liz Morgan, and I would agree she was outstanding during COVID, and I trust and hope somebody nominates her for a national honour. Just the one thing that I would say, if you took a random sample of 1,000 people in Northumberland, if you grabbed 1,000 people off the streets or in the fields or in rural Northumberland and you said, what do you think about the council spending time and discussing, making, and including councillors, the next item, older men and older women? The vast majority might even be very close to 1,000. I'm making a comment on this. You refer to the next item. Well, I'm saying. Which is actually going to be withdrawn. Okay. Well, I'm talking about this item. I'm saying it would equally apply to the second item if I hadn't been withdrawn. But 1,000 people, or very close to 1,000 people you asked, would say, why is the council, cost of living crisis, with all the well-documented problems you have, spending time on this? I don't know why people get obsessed with all these sort of things, with titles and gongs and so on. I think it's a waste of time, in my opinion, and I'll be abstaining.
Thank you. Yeah. Did you want to...
Well, I have to, if I may, just come... Sorry.
Debate, so you'll have to sum up. We've done the questions bit and no one had any. Any more debate? Councillor Dickinson.
Just
to say, if you second it, no one else wants to speak as a seconder, I'll put you in lot. Does anyone else wish to speak on the debate? No, go straight ahead. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to say that, you know, we have all worked with these people. I totally disagree with Councillor Hill. Some of these things are, well, let me finish and you'll find out and then you'll learn something. So we have people across this county, and 3 have been identified, but let's be fair, Glenn, there was lots more in that pile, and there was a lot of really outstanding people that I'm sure the leader will write to separately who didn't get the honour of Freedom of Northumberland, which is special. It doesn't cost very much. It doesn't entitle anybody to anything, but what it does is reward people for their jobs, their roles, their community efforts, their contribution to Northumberland. And actually, most of these people have gone over and beyond anything that they had to do in a job or gave something back to Northumberland that was far larger than we're going to award them with on a honour. But it is an honour to be given the Freedom of Northumberland. It's a beautiful, special county, and we are all very proud of it, and we have the privilege of running it as a collective group. So actually, we should welcome these applications. I hope to see more in the future from community and grassroots people, and that we widen the scope to really recognise the people that provide a contribution to Northumberland. So that's why I disagree with Councillor Hill, and I'm sure she's now changed her mind because I've just explained why she's wrong.
Okay, and now for the leader to sum up.
Yeah, well, if I can sum up, but I also like to tell you that you're wrong too, if I may. These individuals are just the starting point of this. I think it's absolutely essential that the County Council, in a very small way, this isn't going to cost very much money. It doesn't take up a lot of time, except when members stand up and kind of make comments. We could have done this very quickly. But it is really important that we have the ability to say thank you to people, whoever they are and whatever walk of life they take, whether they be a local hero within Ashington or someone in Amble or someone in Prudhoe even. It's really important. I'm dedicated to this scheme. I think it's absolutely the right thing to do, and I'm very grateful for Councillor Dickinson not only in seconding this, but actually saying some very helpful words. So there we are. Thank you.
Right, it's been proposed and it's been seconded. Can I have a show of hands of all those in favour? Are you needing to count these? Okay. Right. Yeah. Right. Okay. Any against? Any against? Any abstaining? Right. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Well, I understand that agenda item 4, which is a report for conferring the title of Honorary Alderman and Alderwomen, has been withdrawn. With that, I will close the meeting. I'm going to check. I've got absolutely nothing else to do. I would now consider